Okay, so we are going to do chapters 3 and 4 all together because chapter 3 is super short. So it starts out, stick with me, we're on page 25, right? Going to die, Brian thought. Going to die, gonna die, gonna die. His whole brain screamed it in the sudden silence. Gonna die. How do we know he doesn't end up dying? You're exactly right. There wouldn't be the rest of the book. It would end right here. Ridiculous. So we know he's not going to die, but he doesn't know he's not going to die. So what I want you to do, and first of all, he has vomit on his mouth, so he probably needs to clean that up a little bit. Read all about that, and when you get to the top of page 26, when it talks about the green death trees, when you get there, I want you to pause your reading and draw what you're seeing. When you finish that paragraph, draw what you're seeing. Because I bet you have a really, really cool vision of what's going on. And then read the rest of chapter 3 until you get to the bottom of page 28, and then come back and talk to me. Okay, so we're at the bottom of page 28. You've just finished reading chapter 3. Maybe one of the most exciting chapters in any book I've ever read. I love adventure, and I love drama, and I love scary stuff, as long as it's not like monsters. I don't believe in that kind of stuff, or ghosts or whatever, so I'm not really into that, but I love scary stuff like this. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. So the end of it, spiraling out into the world, spiraling out into nothing. So when it starts on chapter 4, read this with me. The memory was like a knife cutting into him, slicing deep into him with hate. The secret. He's back to what he was talking about in chapter 1, the secret. There's something that he knows about his mom and dad's divorce that is a secret, and he's back there. So I think what the author is trying to do is say that Brian is in a really bad place right now. Obviously, the plane has crashed. We don't know what has happened exactly, but he's kind of dreaming, and he's kind of thinking about this secret that he knows, but nobody else he knows. So keep on reading chapter 4 until you get to the middle of page 31. So take a few minutes, read those couple of pages, pause, and then come back to me. I said the middle of page 31, but I'm going to go back up just a little bit to it was over then, the crash. He was alive. Think about how grateful he must be. He was alive. And I want you to think about, like, sorry, my computer thinks that I'm talking to it. How grateful have you ever been? Like, what's the most grateful you have ever been? And I'll tell you mine, and then when we talk, I want you to tell me yours. I think for me, maybe the most grateful, besides finding Dave and knowing that he was going to be the man that I ended up marrying and loving and celebrating 28 years of marriage so far, but really, since then, the most grateful that I've ever been, probably two things. When I decided to quit drinking alcohol because I knew that wasn't good for me. For me, other people can drink alcohol. I can't. But also when I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I ended up having my breast cut out, and the cancer was all gone. And it's been 5 years since then, and I'm super grateful. I'm grateful to be alive so I can be doing this with you. So I'm wondering, though, even with all those grateful things that I've had in my life, and maybe some that you've had in your life, would it even compare to Brian's gratitude He's alive. He didn't think he was going to be alive. He thought he was going to be dead. So now keep on reading until you get to, keep reading page 31, 32, 33, and then up to 34. Up at the top of page 34, and you can stop there. So pause, read, and come back to me. Okay, so in the middle of, kind of at the top of that page, in the middle of that paragraph, it says, then he would feel his clothes wet and cold, and his forehead would slash a pain through his thoughts, and he would know it was real, that it had really happened. So he's kind of going in and out of reality versus kind of dreaming, and we probably don't know what that's like because we've probably never been in a plane crash or any kind of that much of a trauma. And it says in here, but all in a haze world. And I think what he's talking about, what the author's talking about, Gary Paulson is saying Brian's in this haze world where he doesn't know what's going on. Now, keep on reading and see what creepy creatures Brian has to deal with next. Keep on reading until, how about the middle of page 37? So you're going to read pages 34, 35, 36, and 37, and don't be creeped out by the creatures. So pause me. Okay, and hopefully you are back with me now. Those mosquitoes, can you imagine what he must have been feeling? They're all over him. I mean, like, I've been bitten by mosquitoes before. We don't have a whole lot of them here. We have more flies than mosquitoes. But when we lived in Florida, we had lots of mosquitoes. And I would get mosquito bites. But, I mean, think about what he was talking about. Covered in mosquitoes. Ears, nose, eyes, mouth. He couldn't get away from them. And then what did he try to do with his jacket? Try to lift it up and put it, or his t-shirt, and try to put it over his head. But then what would happen? Those mosquitoes would bite him there. So in the middle of page 37, it says, if the plane had come down a little to the left, it would have hit the rocks and never made the lake. He would have been smashed, destroyed. And just think about that. More gratitude. Right? More gratefulness. Now, go ahead and read the rest of the chapter. You've just got a couple of pages left. Kind of a cool thing that he finds. He might even make some friends, not with people, but with some animals. And then come back to me when you get to the end of page 39. So pause. Okay. And so here we are at the end of page 39. I love up at the top of the page, it was talking about all the noises, hisses and blurks, small sounds, birds singing, hum of insects, splashes from the fish jumping. Because remember he said all those fish were just jumping all over the lake. There was great noise here, but a noise he did not know. And the colors were new to him, and the colors and noise mixed in his mind to make a green-blue blur he could hear. He's hearing a color. Hear as a hissing pulse sound, and he was still tired. And then it goes on to talk about how he's got to go to sleep again. So now we're at the end of the end of chapter 4. About to start on chapter 5. You're not allowed to start reading chapter 5, even though it's going to get very exciting. I want you to predict and write down a prediction. What do you think is going to happen next? And also think about, hi Elsie, what basic needs does he need to have immediately? Just think about that. If you were in his position, what would you be thinking? I need to get this immediately, or I need to do this immediately. So goodbye for now, and I will see you on, what did we say? Monday, I think. Monday at 3 o'clock your time, 4 o'clock our time in Ruidoso, New Mexico. I love you, Miss Chloe. And Rachel, I love you too. And don't you all love seeing Elsie's tail wagging? Okay, love you guys. No reading ahead, no cheating.